Okay. Welcome, sisters, to our first Prayers for Humanity for 2023. And happy Valentine's Day to each of you and all those you love. It is so good to be here with you again. I've been on a deep journey for several months now, particularly last month and in these last couple of weeks here by the sea. And there's so much, there's so much I want to share with you, and I want to weave in, keep it focused on our theme today, which is self-love and strengthening the Sacred Heart. So there's a lot I want to share with you. And again, first, I want to say thank you for joining us. Please be sure to keep yourself muted. You're welcome to share in the chat, where you're from, say hello, what's alive for you right now. We'd love to hear it. Even if I can't read it on the call today, I will read through the transcripts later at the end of the call. Okay, so for those of you who may be new to this gathering, a little blurb, and for those of you who've been here many times, please, I thank you for your patience. My name is DelVecchio, and for the last year and several months, minus 2 months, I think, Koryanka, whom I'll introduce in a moment, Koryanka and I have been hosting this totally free event called Prayers for Humanity. Myself, I've been a priestess for about 38 years, which is really easy to track because I just track with my son's age. And those of you who know me, you know that story of how that all came about. So I've been on the priestess path for many years, wandered hither and yon off that path at times, but got called by Divine Mother back in 2016 on the island of Bali to step into sacred feminine leadership, and had to do a lot of deep inner work, a lot of shadow work and healing, including the capacity to forgive and love myself in order to step into what I'm doing now, the capacity to really refine the egoic urges to either grandiosity or false humility in order to step into this place. And now we see, 3 years into the great transformation on our planet, the whys and wherefores of why so many of us have been called to this. So a few just practical things. I'm the founder of the Return of the Priestess speaker series, and the lineage bearer of the Mother Spirit Priestess line. And so I initiate women into priestess leadership through my Mother Spirit 13 Moon program. And there's a lot more I could say, but that's the basics. I teach courses. I'm an astrologer, tarot reader, etc. So I think almost all of you know who I am, so I don't want to belabor it too much. So now I would like to introduce my dear sister priestess friend and co-creator of this monthly series, Koryanka. Koryanka is an Incan high priestess, medicine woman, and transformational guide for awakened women who want to step into their sacred destiny and live authentically in their divine essence. She comes from an ancient healing tradition of the Incan lineage. In her work as a priestess, she continues to share these ancient spiritual practices and teachings as part of her legacy, her ancestral legacy. She midwives the rebirth of women around the world into a bright new life of purpose and assists priestesses, medicine women, and creatives to step into the highest level of leadership through high ceremony based upon traditional Incan and Amazonian medicine in sacred retreats in Cusco, Peru, and through online retreats and sacred programs as well. So Corey, thank you so much for, again, co-creating this with me. And I invite you now to welcome everyone and open sacred space formally for us. And let me see if I need to, I will unmute you. Oh, you're unmuted. Okay, good. You did it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that beautiful intro, Dawn, and for having brought the theme for the day for all of us. And I want to also welcome everyone into the sacred container of love and sisterhood. And I cannot stop thanking you for showing up every time, because by showing up, we are assisting to raise the vibration and frequency of the whole planet. believe it or not, we actually make a difference, and we are part of the change we want to see in the world, together with many other light workers, priestesses, healers, and people doing great work out there together with us. We are joining forces. Let's start with a prayer. I'd love to invite you to go into a prayer. So you can close your eyes if that feels good, and we can place a hand on the chest, one in the room space, and we say this prayer with love and reverence. Divine Spirit of love and light, beloved teachers and guides, Pachamama amorosa, spirits of the great Andean mountains, the mountains of the four directions, the sacred teacher plants, our ancestors, we welcome into the circle all of our relations, all of our spirit guides and spiritual warriors, and we ask for their presence, their wisdom and medicine to pour through us so that we can join them in the heart and amplify their medicine, sending it with our love for all of humanity, for ourselves and families, the people that we love, everyone we know, our communities. Thank you all, thank you all, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Corey. Let me get my pin back on here so you can see me. Thank you, sister. And thank you, sisters, again, to underscore what Koryanka has said. Let us not underestimate the power of our gatherings here. And I want to just reiterate what she said. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up. Our work together in service to Mother Earth, to our sisters and brothers of Earth is no small effort. We are infusing the field of Earth with love and light to support our sisters and brothers who have been lost in the miasma of fear and the conditioning we were all born into, the separation conditioning. So that kind of leads me into what I want to talk about today. So I'm just going to let in these other two sisters here, and then I want to look at my notes so that I stay on track, because there's so many things I could share with you, but I want to stick with the imperative of self-love and strengthening our own hearts for the collective at this time. So I'm just going to take a moment to tune in, and I invite you as well to stay connected with your breath, stay connected with your heart, and receive this message, this transmission of information and guidance, knowing that you are a free will being and can take what aligns for you and release the rest with love and peace without feeling disruption in your own field. So we were all born into what I use the term the 3D matrix, and I use that because it's something that's a sort of common parlance in the lightworker community. We can, split hairs over what that is, but let's just say, for our argument's sake, for this conversation, the 3D matrix is a matrix that it's a consciousness based in separation, fear, control, limitation, hierarchy, domination. These beliefs of what we thought we were in relation to each other, in relation to power, in relation to God, Goddess, the great creator. And we were all born into that. And so we have been dismantling, deconstructing, learning how to go beyond those consciousness concepts. And we're at different parts of that journey back toward the awareness of oneness. And but within that construct, within the 3D matrix construct, there's a lot of energies around shame and guilt. And I want to clarify those for a moment, because they are the two lowest possible consciousness frequencies we can carry, believe it or not. Guilt is I've done something wrong. Shame is I am something wrong. Shame is the lowest frequency. And especially for those of us who were raised in Catholic and Christian, but Catholic in particular, that shame frequency was drilled into us. And like so many religions, the seed of what started that religion was a beautiful thing. It was a divine download received by someone who was in a mystical state and had an experience of oneness. And as they brought their teachings forward in the minds of men, primarily men in this great epoch of time we've been living in, the egos of men twisted those to become something so distorted that it becomes the opposite of what it was. And now at the end of a spiritual season, we see the 180-degree twist, the scrambling of the original divine message. We see this with Jesus. We see this with Buddha. We see this with Muhammad. I sit now in southern Thailand in a deeply Muslim area where I get to hear the call to prayer 5 times a day. The call to prayer is a beautiful thing. God is great. God is great. God is great. God is great. Hey, I'm totally on vibe with that. And then I walk around and I see women covered, some of them in full burqas, almost all of them, at least with the hijab, the covered head. And I think, like, here we are, the 3D matrix, the distortion, the shame, the guilt, women having to cover their bodies, all of that. So it's interesting because on these stilted houses, I can see into the homes. It's in indoor, outdoor living. I can see the women uncovered in their homes with their children and their husbands when they're out on their decks. And then I see them out covered up. So that's just a little anecdotal example of the frequencies of guilt and shame and wrongness. The wrongness, the belief in that there's something wrong with us, that we are bad, we're guilty, we're shameful, whatever that is. And that is what we are transforming right now. And many of us on this call have done a lot of deep work and some deep, dark nights of the soul to face some of the things we felt guilt or shame about. Now, 2023. I'm not alone in, and you all may be feeling this as well, in the awareness that this is going to be a year of many people awakening. That's been the case for a number of years. Certainly 2020, a lot of people woke up. There's the awakening to the political and cultural shenanigans, but there's also going to be big soul awakenings this year. And those of us who have been doing this work for a while, we are going to be the lighthouses for our families, our friends, our neighbors. I'm already getting it. I'm already seeing friends who I knew when I was just trying to be a regular person, who are starting to come to me, and their lives are falling apart. And they know that the solution is not to battle it, or that the solution is spiritual some way, but they're new, they don't know kind of where to go or where to look, but they know that, oh, I know that person, Dawn, she has a little bit of that divine feminine stuff. Let me contact her. Maybe I can get some help. My feeling is and maybe some of you are already, if you're already experiencing this as well, people starting to reach out to you, let us know in the comments. I would love to hear from you about this. So big awakenings likely this year. Now, the thing is, awakenings can often begin with a dark night of the soul, with a collapse of a person's constructs of who they thought they were, their external markers that supported their ego. But the ego can't come into the light where we are going, and so it needs to collapse. And so as the personality realizes, sees, and comprehends the damage which the shadow aspect of their personality has done, it could be anything. It could be I married the wrong person. I've been a mean biatch to people in my work. Whatever it is. I've made too many shortcuts in my life, and now I'm paying the price. I've been permitted myself to be in addiction for too long, and it could be anything. They're going to, once they see that, it can be very easy to fall into the trap of self-recrimination and deep self-abuse. So to go deeper into addiction, to go deeper into shame and guilt. And this is not going to work, obviously. We know this. So I want to back up a little bit and just remind us all that because of the infusion of plasmic light from the sun and the increased frequency of Mother Earth and being in the photon belt, light agitates the shadow within us. That which was still and lurking at the bottom of the sea, at the bottom of our consciousness, can't stay down there unperturbed anymore. It's being shaken up by the high frequency light. And it makes mud, and it makes waters that are, you can't see. You can't see your hand before your face under the water when it's perturbed, right? So that's what's happening to people. It's what happened probably to many of us at different times in our life. Maybe right now you are going through one of those phases yourself. Maybe that's why you're here. So the key here is that while dark nights of the soul can begin with gobs of fear and therefore projection, because the ego doesn't want to take responsibility. It's his fault. It's her fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's the church's fault. It's the religion's fault. It's the government's fault. It's the bad guy's fault. All of that, that's what the ego wants to do. But the truth is that we will not find peace within ourselves until we recognize I am fully responsible for everything I've created in my life, even if it was my ego self born into the 3D matrix, alienated, shameful, and guilty, so much so that I created a mess for myself. The only way out then is that recognition, and then the forgiveness, and then the self-acceptance, the self-love, the mercy and compassion for ourselves enough that we rise up out of that 3D matrix construct of shame and guilt and fear and projection. And then we can look upon the world with more loving eyes. So it always begins with us. It always begins with our own capacity to focus upon love, self-acceptance, and self-forgiveness in order to find enough peace within ourselves to actually access the healing we need to clean up any messes in our own life that we created from the consciousness of 3D matrix, and then to have more tolerance for our sisters and brothers who are still playing out their ego projections. And finally, also to be a light, a beacon for those who will turn to us as they begin the journey of awakening themselves this year and in the years to come. So there's this beautiful concept that any of you who have studied Buddhism may know, Metta, M-E-T-T-A, Metta. It's loving kindness. And in Thai, the word for give is Hai, H-A-I. So we are here today to Hai Metta, to give loving kindness, and to do it first for ourselves before we begin to extend it to others and the world. And so what I would like to do now is to bring in a meditation, a guided visualization of Hai Metta, of giving loving kindness. And so I ask you now to take a moment to settle yourself. So we're going to make the shift now. I've delivered the transmission of information. Take what works for you, leave the rest. And now we're going to go into actually tuning into that loving kindness, the compassion, the mercy for self, and by extension for others. So let me just take a little sip here. And as you make yourself comfortable, you can take a moment to make those little micro adjustments so that you feel your spine rise up. So that you're in a naturally comfortable state. And you can soften your eyes, your vision, so that your eyes close if it's possible to do so. If you're in a public place, you may not want to, but you may just soften and diffuse your gaze so that you're aware of everything around you, but your consciousness is focused within. Beautiful. And now I would like to call upon two great mothers. First, Kuan Yin, Bodhisattva of mercy and compassion. I ask that you come and support us in attuning to our own metta within our hearts for ourselves. And then I call upon the ancient mother, Naga Kanya, the water serpent, the great dragon mother of the waters, revered in Nepal and known in many places by other names, to come and support us as we clear our own flowing waters, our womb waters, our veins and capillaries, and the waters of the lands near us where we reside, of anything that is not in alignment with metta, with loving kindness for ourselves and for others. Kuan Yin, Naga Kanya, thank you for joining us and supporting us in this intention. And so, sisters, now I invite you to call in your own guides, any beings of light that you feel will support you best at this time. And feel them surrounding you in a loving embrace, a bubble of light, of compassion and mercy. We each need compassion and mercy for ourselves, for any and all experiences that we have gone through in this or other incarnations, which were not in alignment with metta. And so right now, sisters, let us tune into our hearts. Bring your awareness into the heart space. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, allow yourself to become aware of something in your life, in yourself, that needs your mercy and forgiveness, your compassion right now. Maybe it was an action, a word, words you've said, a choice you've made, something that you carry as a burden. And call upon your guides and Kuan Yin and Naga Kanya to have your back right now as you stand to face this choice, this action, this aspect of your life that you are ready to forgive and release, to transmute with metta, with loving kindness. And breathe in an expanded way into the heart so you feel your consciousness expand beyond the chest. And a deep inhalation. And on the exhale, send it out in a beam of light to surround that event, circumstance, aspect of self with rose gold light tinted with green for compassion, the heart and the high heart, offering metta to that aspect of you, to that circumstance. Be willing to release it completely in the name of love. And see the way the old construct of judgment you've held releases from that circumstance so that the event, circumstance, aspect of self is now glowing, illuminated in rose gold light with flecks of healing green. And continue to breathe, offering metta to that experience, that situation, that aspect of self. So you are building a new bridge of light between your deep heart and your spirit allies and our divine mother aspects supporting, and that historical event or circumstance or self that needs to come back home into you, free of the old judgments, free of the old painful associations. And now as you breathe in relation to this aspect of self, notice the way it draws toward you, drawing toward your heart, bringing this aspect home into the heart, allowing yourself to lovingly embrace that aspect of self, that circumstance, that choice, surrounding it with the metta, high metta, giving loving kindness, as you welcome and embrace that aspect home into your heart. Breathe her back in, letting her integrate into self, and feel the liberation that comes. Feel the relief of welcoming that aspect home to yourself. And as you feel this relief, this way in which you are making yourself more whole, take a moment to really savor and expand these energies, giving yourself permission to feel good, to feel love, to feel supported by all of life and all of the divine who has loved you without condition all along. That's right. And expand your own energy into this great bubble of love light that surrounds you always. Feel the relief, the peace, the steadiness and stability that this reintegration offers for you. Feel the way it strengthens you, perhaps even bringing you new insights and information that you could not have when you were separated from this aspect of yourself. Allow yourself to receive the codes, the downloads that come from this aspect of self newly welcomed home, free of the judgments, free of the old conditioning that kept it apart from you. Feel your wholeness now. Good. And now, from a place of an inward gaze where you feel and sense and know a more whole self, give yourself permission from this more whole place to turn your gaze outward to the world and notice where your gaze lands. It could be anything. It could be your family, your community, the street you live on, the world at large. And notice that each and every one of our sisters and brothers of Earth, except perhaps some of the new star seeds who are still holding the frequency of high innocence, or those who have awakened fully into their Christ consciousness, their awakened state. But those are few. The vast majority of our sisters and brothers are living in various states of separation from their whole selves. And so take a moment to let your awareness see and know that just as you have had an aspect of self that was separate, held in judgment by your own self, that you have now had the relief and peace to reintegrate, so too do all of those sisters and brothers of earth live in that state. Some of them with many, many, many fragmented parts of self. And so as we call in Kuan Yin in particular, to come into our hearts already more whole from our own forgiveness of self, let us look with her eyes to see with mercy and compassion those sisters and brothers who are living in such need of forgiveness for themselves, of mercy, compassion. Those sisters and brothers lost in the miasma of the 3D matrix, and feeling the power now of your own centered, grounded self, and feeling the power of Kuan Yin residing in your heart, and Naga Kanya, the great serpent mother, holding your back, and feeling the power of all your guides who support you. Return now into the heart space to expand your compassion and mercy on the breath, inhaling. And as you exhale, extend your compassion, mercy, your metta to all your sisters and brothers of earth who so desperately need to feel love, acceptance, to feel the truth of what it means to be loved without condition, to experience metta. And so we will take a few moments now to literally breathe in the power of our love, and to breathe out metta, to high metta, to extend, to give loving kindness to our sisters and brothers of earth. You can choose to do this with specific individuals or generally, knowing that Kuan Yin supports our holding the compassion and mercy, while Naga Kanya supports the extending through the energetic lines of earth, the sending forth of that energy. And so we will sit in silence for a few minutes, breathing in, expanding into the heart space, exhaling, high metta, give loving kindness. Now, sisters, to complete this prayer, this meditation, let us come back to the self, offering again this loving compassion to self, letting the light of our own mercy clear any residual, any little bits or attachments that are still holding on, that do not serve love, clearing with compassion, surrounding our own selves in the metta that this world so much needs, infusing ourselves with loving kindness, such that we walk in the world and even in the simplest interactions, high metta, give loving kindness to all those we meet. And now take a deep breath into the heart, exhaling, offering energy into the body. Slowly bring your consciousness back into the physical body where you are currently residing. Wiggle your toes and fingers. Maybe make a few circles, circling your pelvis or your shoulders, just coming back into the body, knowing that you have been in high service to your sisters and brothers of earth. And when you're ready, open your eyes, feeling fully awake, fully alert. Thank you so much, sisters, for joining me in this. Thank you. Know that you can do this anytime with a few breaths. Simply come into that space of loving compassion for yourself and extend it to others. And notice over the weeks and months ahead, when an aspect of you comes up and you feel that judgment toward yourself, you feel that crunchy, like, oh, I wish I didn't do that, or, oh, I don't want to think about that. And instead, bring it forward. Bring it forward. And maybe you're busy and you can't do it right then, but whenever you can, bring it forward and do this prayer, this meditation. Let yourself love yourself up, releasing the aspects of judgment, guilt, and shame, and then pulling that aspect into the self, bringing yourself home to you so that you pull in those fragmented parts. It could be flashes from other lifetimes too, but particularly this lifetime right now, because those are the ones you're going to feel the most charge around. Often those aspects of self that we have guilt and judgment about or shame about often do thread back to other incarnations, but work with what you know to bring it back home to self and then extend to others. One other thing I want to say before I ask Corey to come on and seal this gathering for us, seal these energies and bless them, is one of the things that I have been doing now for a while is when I catch myself judging anyone for anything. Like, again, as an example, one of my big triggers is when I see the holy men with their flowing white robes and their hats here. This is, remember, I'm in Islam country here right now, even though it's Thailand. There's a mix, they're there. And then behind them, the women in burqas, which there's not a lot of burqas, but there's some. I can get my ire, my judgment around patriarchy and hierarchy and all that stuff. It's toned down a lot, but I want to use a neutral example rather than a personal one, a real personal one, to say, I can feel that ire rise up. I catch myself very quickly now going, you know what, Dawn, that's an aspect of myself. That's an aspect of the construct of hierarchy that says men are better than women and the guilt and shame or whatever. I send them love. I high metta. I give loving kindness. And the relief it gives me is incalculable. And I do believe with all of my heart that each and every time I do that, I move myself closer to God and I offer more peace for the world. So when we find ourselves triggered by someone, something, judging, whatever it is, why did that person act that way? What a jerk, whatever. Oh, let me love them. Let me offer them love, because they're walking in the world fragmented, guilty, shameful, whatever their soul's issues are that are coming up big time now because of the light frequency. They need our mercy. They need our compassion. They need our forgiveness. They need for us to let them off the hook. And when we do, we let ourselves off the hook because we're not carrying around our judgment about them. We are more free to be the love we wish to see in the world. So thank you, sisters. Thank you. 45 of us here giving loving kindness to our sisters and brothers. That is a powerful thing. That is a thing of light, love, and beauty. So thank you. Okay, and now I would like to ask Koryanka to please come on and offer a blessing and seal these energies to support our sisters here. She had some trouble coming on and off, so I can't see you, Corey, so you're going to have to, thank you, unmute.
Here I am. That was really profound and very much needed, I'm sure, because as human beings, we come up against these situations where we feel, we feel the anger, the judgment, all of the feelings, big feelings, right? And so this is a great thing that we get to do, to return to forgiveness, to return to peace in our hearts as well. And let's get together now in prayer to receive blessings from our spirit guides from the higher power. Divine Spirit of love and light, beloved teachers, guides, ancient ones, we want to first of all thank you for your presence during this sacred gathering, for healing our hearts, bringing the divine light to those wounded places that we might have, and any circumstances and situations that might trigger us. And I want to ask for your blessings for the circle of women that are gathering today with us, and all of our sisters that belong to our community, and anyone who would want to receive your blessings of love and forgiveness, of love and peace. May we return to abundant light flowing through our bodies, in our lives, with so much balance and beauty, with so much force. May we keep on growing strong in the light and love that we are. And every experience that might test us may just be the medicine that we need at this moment to become even stronger and much more grounded in the light. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. Thank you, sister. And thank you, sisters, for being here with us today. Our next, we haven't determined our next Prayers for Humanity. March is the month that I'm making my transition back to the United States. I've got a lot going on. Of course, there will be jet lag involved, but we are going to do that. And of course, as always, you'll get emails. So I want to thank you. We have a few minutes here. Let me just see if there's any. Wow, we have a lot of messages actually. So let's just see if there's anything. There's thank yous here. I'm reading the messages, a lot of thank yous, different thank yous. Thank you, sisters, for being here. This was so beautiful, bringing the aspect of myself home and feeling the loving compassion was so emotional and wonderful, says Isabella. Thank you, Isabella. Ruth says, I am golden. Okay, so Razia, thank you. There's a private message here from a sister. So Razia, I hope you are open to me sharing it, because I feel that this supports our deeper understanding, right? And high Metta, to give Metta. Being a Muslim, I can explain that many women wish to cover themselves in public. It comes from the first time it was done by the Prophet's wife, Aisha. She had set the precedent to be recognized by her face cover so that men would visit the Prophet, who would visit the Prophet could do so without any issues. His old house in Medina and some of his group had only sand floors separating the mats, no private rooms or partitions. At that time, the Arab women, most were pagans, never covered very much. In fact, the Bedouin tribes covered more to protect from the fine sand. Yes, I know that. Now the discretion was to explain that the current women want to emulate Aisha and hope to gain good rewards for their actions in the hereafter. The Quran itself only states to cover up to our wrists, ankles, around the face, covering the hair, not necessarily the full face, the niqab, which is a different word. Thank you, sister, for sharing this. And you know, here's a very interesting thing I was reflecting on this morning. Many priestesses cover our heads. Most of you don't see me do this. I don't do it here because it's too freaking hot in the tropics. And the place where I interact with Muslim culture is only in the tropics of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Southern Thailand. So I don't cover here, but at home, I often cover. I wear my hair in a bun and I cover. And I know many priestesses do that. And I can't figure out exactly what it is, but I know it feels like a holy woman to me. So thank you for that. I feel like there's nuance. There's nuance that gets lost in the translation of dogma, right? And so in our years of patriarchy, and I've known this about Muhammad, that actually Muhammad was, in a sense, a liberator for women. But then, just like in Catholicism with the guilt, or other religions, what I see in terms of Theravada Buddhism in Thai culture, Thai, Lao, Sri Lankan culture, it becomes sort of the true spiritual meaning gets lost, and it becomes secular and dogmatic. So for me as a Catholic, it was, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 5 weeks since my last confession, and here are my sins. I see the Catholics laughing, right? It's dogma. It no longer has the nuance and the true heart. So I deeply appreciate, sister, that you have shared this with all of us to support the illustration I offered that comes from a place of ignorance and yet wanting to not be judgmental, because this now helps me and anyone else who has that moment to go, right, oh, Aisha, right, this is, we're on it. We can look at it one way, we can look at it another way. Just like confession in Catholicism, it's become this unconscious thing, but the truth is that when we witness our shadow and forgive ourselves, as we did today, and reintegrate those parts, that's a kind of aspect of confession, isn't it? It's like, yes, that was me that chose that. What do I do about that? I ask for forgiveness of myself and those involved, and then I become free. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Really deeply, I appreciate that. Let's see if there's more. I have several friends who are going through health challenges, family dynamics, drama, or loss of loved ones. Lori says, yes. I'm starting to see it too. I'm realizing my morning prayers are getting really long because there's all these people now who are having health manifestations thanks to their choices. And, you know, and their medical choices. And it's hard. It's hard to see, but we all, at a soul level, we're all exactly where we need to be, learning exactly what we need to learn. Christy says, yes, several close friends whose family members are seriously ill, including my daughter. Oh, Christy, I'm sorry. I'm offering prayers also for your daughter. And more thank yous. So another private message. Thank you so much for the wonderful work for women around the globe. Blessed be. Due to personal issues, I cannot go public in any way. Thank you in advance for this event. Yes, thank you, sister. And I hope that my saying your first name is not going to make an issue. There are many people with your first name, so hopefully that's neutral enough. Don't know where you are. A lot of hellos, and let's wrap up. Paula says, covering the crown protects it. Thank you, Paula. Andy says, a death today in our family has me feeling very tender. Thank you for this. I felt more comfort and less fear now of the future losses. Thank you for sharing that. And my deep condolences and prayers for your loss, for that soul's transition. May they have Godspeed in their next part of their soul's journey.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Teresa says, I chose judgment as what I wanted to heal. Perfect. Blessed be. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, sisters. So we're going to wrap up for today. That was very powerful. I'm going to ask Corey to close the space for us. So Corey, if you'd offer a final closing prayer, and then we'll complete for today.
Yes. May we go back to our daily lives with so much more joy, so much more peace in our hearts. I want to really invite everyone to set this intention and to know that it's already done. We have our spiritual team right behind us, and anything happening at this moment in your life, whether it is the death of a family member, illness, any reasons to have felt shame or guilt or judgmental, all is well. We are taking ourselves back home together. And so that is my prayer and my desire for every one of you and our families and friends and communities. And so it is, sisters, and so it is, and so it is.
Blessed be, and so it is. Thank you, sisters. May you be well in these times. May you feel Metta, loving kindness, supporting you and all those you love as we journey together through this year where many will awaken. May we forgive those aspects of ourselves that do not serve us, and have a blessed month until we see you again. Some of you I'll see in the private community, and thank you.